So they start locking me in my room at 10 years old as punishment. And I pretty much spent 3 years in solitary confinement living at my dad's house.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Bunny Hugs and Mental Health Podcast, a free safe space for people to share and learn from others' experiences with mental health and addictions. I'm Todd Rennebaum, suicide attempt survivor and a recovering substance abuser and user. Hey, thanks for tuning in to another program. This week I'm speaking with Brad Keck, and we go way back. We were in high school together for just a couple years. So now I'm going to set it up a little bit. I'm from a small town called Indian Head, Saskatchewan. And growing up here in Indian Head, we had a place called the Orange Home. And there was also the Orange Home Farm. And basically they were ran by the Orangemen, which I think is some kind of religious group. Don't really know. And it was a group home for kids. And it was kind of like, instead of going to a foster home, you'd come to this place, and it was a big group home for kids that couldn't live with their parents anymore or whatever. So for whatever reason, my parents worked there at one point, and I went all through school with all types of kids that were in the Orange Home. And at the time, I never really thought too much about these people's lives outside of Indian Head and the Orange Home. Brad and I reconnected just recently, and I was like, well, so what was your life like not in the Orange Home? And he's had a pretty epic tale. So he's telling his story today. There's lots of abuse and stuff. He's dealt with addictions after high school and stuff. So he's going to tell his story and how he's battled through some of these issues and mental health issues and trauma and PTSD and things. So thank you, Brad, for this and for sharing your story. Before Brad tells his story, I just want to tell everyone that Bunny Hugs and Mental Health is now on YouTube, or if it isn't, it's on its way. So if you check it, and there's I have a couple videos on there, but nothing really much. But if you go there and there's no interviews or anything yet, it's coming very, very soon. I'm trying over the next few days to get it up and to get stuff on there, but I've never done it really before. So if there's a problem, just keep checking in on it, because I've got lots of videos to go up on there. So I'm very excited for that. I'm excited because there's going to be episodes from like a year and a half ago that are going up on there, and there's going to be brand new ones with better quality audio and video and stuff, and it's going to be great. It's going to be a new regular thing. So you can subscribe to that as well. Bunny Hugs and Mental Health on YouTube. But anyway, let's get to the episode. Without further ado, I give you Brad Keck. Yeah.
Okay,
right.
What happened with my mom and my dad is that when that relationship failed, they were 22 or 23, and I don't know if my mom had the capacity to understand how deep of a situation she was in having a child. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I think she secretly resented me for having me, for the rest of her life, when her relationship and my dad's relationship failed. So that relationship failed because of extreme violent abuse.
On your dad's part?
To the point where my dad was beating my mom regularly till she was unidentifiable. And it wasn't just him, it was the fucking neighbor, it was the other neighbor. They were all beating their families. The neighbor girl, Holly, she must have only been 4 feet tall, and her husband was a firefighter, and he threw her right through the door. And she had to go to the hospital. She was my babysitter.
Was this in Regina?
This was in Regina, yeah. This is fucking insane. This is just the first 2 years of my life.
Right.
And my most vivid memory of being a child is the holes in the walls at my parents' house. And my mom said that we left before I was 2. So I can still vividly remember how many holes there were in the walls all the time. And so they broke up, and then basically she had to take on the task of being my mother alone. And my mom had her own problems. You know what I mean? Like, she had been molested by my uncle, you know what I mean? And my grandma punished her and my aunt rather than my uncle, which is, but that's what happened to my grandma. Okay. And my great grandma was worse. Like, my great grandma beat my grandma for coming forth and telling her that my grandma's brother, who had fled the war in the US, had come up and was staying with them, and then he was molesting my grandmother and my 2 great aunts, but my great grandma just beat them. She just beat them solid, you know what I mean? So you can see that it comes from just like a root of evil, more or less. And so she had all these chips on her shoulder long before she decided, I'm going to take on a husband and a child. And it was probably just suited that she was going to look for this kind of guy because she had had so many traumas herself. I mean, now that I'm 40 some years old, I understand that because I've learned that about people. Anyways, so then after my parents broke up, but it's not like that. What happened is that my dad's sister hadn't heard from my mom in like a few days, and she knew something was up, right? So she calls up my auntie Dorothy, my dad's oldest sister, and says, we got to go check on Bernice. And then
that's her mom.
Cruise. Yeah, my mom. And then they cruise down to the house late at night and have a door key. And they come in, and my mom is huddled in my room in the closet, and she's fucking unidentifiable. And then they have to pack my stuff and pack her stuff and say, we got to get out of here right now.
Are you okay? Talk about this shit? We don't have to, man.
No, it's all right, man. So then they had to, they got my mom out of there, and then she was able to, like, the court got involved and the police and stuff, and my dad had restraining orders and stuff. So it was beginning to look like she was going to go and get to a positive, better place. So, she got a job, man. You know what I mean? At this good place as a secretary. Like, my mom was smoking. You know what I mean? She had big guns, ready blonde hair, a farm girl curves, like, yeah. So then she's working, you know what I mean? So then, and, but in that time, she, gets this apartment, but she can't send me to a babysitter or something. So she's fucking leaving me at home by myself for 8 hours a day, locked in the apartment for like a year or more.
And how old were you then?
What's that?
How old were you at this point?
Like, we're talking about, this was when I was about 3. Okay. So I could talk and that kind of stuff. And you know what I mean? I was mastering my environment. I could use the potty, all that kind of stuff. And if the TV, like, you just had to turn the dial to change the channel on the TV.
Right. We're that old. Right?
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah, dude. 8-track. Do you know that word?
Oh, fuck yeah. I'd want in a car.
Oh, right on. Yeah, man. I even bought the adapter so I could put the cassettes in afterwards. So, yeah, then from there, my aunt, my mom's sister, noticed something was going on with me. Like my behavior was starting to change. You know what I mean? Like I'm becoming clingier and kind of like, you know, how I'm hyperactive. It's just like really starting to like go into nth degree at this point at 3 years old. And then the people in the building start reporting her for leaving me there. And so finally, she puts me into a daycare, which I remember this daycare clearly. I met two of my lifelong friends, Mark and Megan Penno there, and I still know them to this day. Um, anyways, so I'm at this daycare for a while, and in that time, she had gotten this pretty good job as a secretary. She's making okay money. Things are looking up, and she's starting to manage her own life. Do you know what I mean? And take control of the bull by the horns and maybe establish herself as a woman and a person and an individual that is not reliant on a man to identify herself. Do you know what I mean? Like she can own a fucking house. She can own a fucking car. You know, what's wrong with that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But she wasn't raised in those times, and you always have to remember that. And then along comes fucking Kenny. You know what I mean? My stepdad. And Ken is a fucking warped individual, okay? Like he is like almost 10 years older than my mom, and she is not very understanding of smart people, you know? And so easily he's manipulating her from because she's naive. That's right.
Yeah.
But he's manipulating her right from the beginning. And I knew it right away that he was trying to convince her because he had left his wife and his kid in Tisdale or Nipawin, and he never wanted to see them again. So now he met my mom, and he's like, "Oh, she's hot. I want to go and, you know, she's 25 or whatever, and I'm gonna go hang out with this 25-year-old broad." And he's 35, right?
He just wanted to diddle your mom and get you out of the picture somehow.
Bingo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in amongst this time, I think Ken realized how intelligent I was. And then that turned on a whole different twisted part of his brain. Do you understand? But my mom couldn't figure that out, you know? And so no matter what things that he was doing to me and how I could explain it to her and say, listen, this is why he's doing that, she would always be like, oh, he would never do that. You know, like just this like televised response, you know, and it was fucking insane.
Do you think she believed that, or she was just trying to convince herself of it?
I think she was just trying to convince herself of it because she's not that out of it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But in this whole time, he's always gaslighting her about that I'm a problem, you know, but what he does is he does mental things to me that causes me to behave in a way. And then he goes, look at how mental it is. Oh, let's send him to a psychiatrist now. Oh, let's try this. Oh, let's try this. Like he's just got my mom in this frenzy of idiocracy that she cannot escape it. It's if you could imagine some kind of like television novella dynamic with the wicked stepdad who has been spending a lifetime to manipulate the child to make him a murderer. That is kind of like, you could say that Ken did every kind of thing like that. And my mom was absolutely oblivious to it, no matter if my aunt Like her sister would tell her, this is what's happening. My dad's sister would tell her, this is what's happening. My dad's parents came to her and said, Bernice, this is what's happening. He's not bad. It's what when he comes here and tells us about Ken, you don't even understand what Ken's doing to him is evil. And I'm going there telling them honestly because I trust them. I feel comfortable with my grandparents or my aunties, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But she can't listen to anything objective. She can just keep doing what he says. So then he would be like, oh, I can't live with him. Like, what? I can't live with him? So then at fucking 5 years old, guess where they send me to live? My dad's.
Right.
My biological dad, who had just been 2 years before beating my mom unidentifiable. And Ken convinces her, yeah, no, that's going to be good.
So he basically gave your mom an ultimatum. It's your 5-year-old son or me.
This is the first ultimatum. Just you wait. She chooses that and sends me to my dad's, and lo and behold, he just starts fucking beating me right away. You know what I mean? And after about a year, my whole family is screaming at her, go fucking get him, you know, because he's beating him every day. And so finally, Ken and my mom show up one day, and Ken's trying to act all fucking macho, like he's being the hero to come get me this day, right? And my mom's all swooning over this. They pick me up, I leave, we move into this house in the northwest end of Regina. So now it's grade 2. I have to walk home from 8 city blocks or more at 7 years old, and I have to go inside and make all my own lunch and all this kind of shit. Like, Ken won't allow my mom to be there to parent me, even though they have free time. Like, by this time, Ken has made up this fucking scam business. Like, my mom could be coming home for lunch and giving me lunch and spending time with me, important time, but he won't allow it. Do you know what I mean? And he tries to disguise it as, oh, I need you here. Oh, I gotta help me. Oh, you're my partner. All this kind of stuff. And my mom just eats it up every time. I don't know. Eventually, I'm not getting along with him, you know, but it's because what he's doing to me. So then my mom decides, okay, we're going to send him somewhere else again. So I just get through grade 3. And meanwhile, while I was in grade 3, my teachers are starting to raise alarm bells with them, my mom, with Ken and my mom. So I think part of getting rid of me in grade 3 too is because the school is starting to call and they're starting to question my mom, and she's questioning Ken, and he doesn't like that. So now Bradley's got to go again because, you know, other people see the blatant abuse, but she doesn't, you know. So then I go and move out to Radville and live with my mom's sister for a while. But guess what? Okay, it's the 80s. They're not doing very well financially, and they have 3 girls, my cousins. And like, my mom is supposed to be giving them her child tax, but she's keeping that money, you know. And my aunt literally cannot afford to raise me as well, you know. So it's like 3/4 the way through grade 4, I get ripped out of school, sent back to Regina, put back into school there. And so now I'm back living in their other house again, but it's grade 4 or 5. And it's just more of Ken's mental bullshit. So Kelly is my stepbrother, which is Ken's biological son. And we picked Kelly up. And that's it, man. And he comes to the city. But lo and behold, I did not know that was going to be a changing game. Of course it was going to be a new changing game, right? Because now Ken needs to appear as the hero, even though he didn't want him. Fuck.
So Ken didn't want Kelly either.
No.
Right. He just wanted to be with your mom.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. and go around and look like a hotshot. That's his thing. So now Kelly moves in. They take my bed. Okay. I had a nice queen size water bed, and they give it to Kelly. And they give Kelly the room that was going to be the living room downstairs. They give that to him as his room. They give him this huge my bed that I had been sleeping on for my life. They give it to him. I had just got a small color TV for Christmas that year. It was my gift. I got that for Christmas. They gave it to Kelly.
How old were you at this point?
10. Okay. This is grade 4 or 5, so grade 5. Okay. And so they give all of my belongings to him. And then there was this room that was supposed to be an office downstairs to just like fit a desk. They buy a single bed and put it in there, and I can barely like walk into the room. It's like a jail cell, and it's a shitty mattress. It hurts so bad. It's just it's maniacal when you think about it from the overview. And you got to keep in mind that my mom at this point is like 33, but Ken is 43. Okay. You think Ken doesn't know what the imagery looks like? He absolutely knows what the imagery looks like, and he's producing it for his own mental amusement. And he's been doing this to me my whole life by now. And I'm mentally starting to be disrupted by all of this. So then they're having a fight one night and over me again, but Ken would create the fight, and he would gaslight her like I'm doing something that's so out of proportion that is, you got to get rid of him. So he has this fight in front of me. He orchestrates it in front of me, and he's like, Bernice, you got to choose right now. It's me or him. And right
actual there, ultimatum in
front of me. And she says, well, I choose you. And he's like, well, then you got to call up his dad and get him fucking picked up from here tomorrow. That's at 10 years old, man. That's what's happening to Bradley Keck at 10 years old. That's been rejection, the just absolute rejection. And that let me know that the person who gave birth to me doesn't want me at all.
Have you talked to professionals about all this shit? Because I mean, it's obviously, I mean, I could see it that it's still.
It's hard.
Yeah, like there's a lot of resentment, a lot of.
So
more than resentment. I mean, you're still taking it personally.
I have real problems, Todd.
I
think of I think of terrifying things, man.
Are you still seeing somebody?
I'm trying to move. I'm trying to move as far away as I can from here. So much distance that I could never think of anything again. We're saving our money right now to move to Europe. And my daughter is learning French. And we're going to get the hell out of here and live somewhere where I feel happy for the rest of my life.
But
that's a good plan.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
I know. I have to.
You're not also fixing anything.
I have to deal with my demons too. So what happened then after that? So the very next day, you know who picks me up?
Your dad.
My dad. And my dad is not pleased about the way this is gone down. Like, she didn't ask him if he could take me at the end of the year or whatever. She's calling him up, telling him, you got to switch the schools. You got to do all this and all this. And my dad doesn't like doing any of that. And he's not going to like go home and grumble to himself over it. He's going to come pick me up and then beat the shit out of me because I'm to blame for all of it, you know? And then that's how that started me living with him again. was a good old fucking beating, you know? And then, so then I move out to this small town, Grand Coulee, and where I live with him for the next 3 years. And it was just an absolute fucking nightmare. Like the town is like full of cops and shit, which is ironic, but nobody would ever be interested in anybody else's business, you know? So in that time, him and my stepmom, they had 2 kids. So this is just a whole new effed up dynamic. So I move out there. Basically, they use me like as a slave. You know what I mean? I'm like 10 years old, and my dad's got me out there running a rototilling the whole yard 3 times in a row, like a 1/4 acre corner lot. Rototill it 3 times in a row, bring some more manure, bring that, keep rototilling it in. I want it to be good, you know, instead of playing, making friends in the town, doing things that kids should be to develop emotionally and socially. No, this is what I'm doing. And he doesn't care because he hates me too, you know? And now that my dad is different. Like my dad had brain damage from severe car accidents, right? So the whole front of his brain is damaged, severely damaged. His ability to feel empathy and emotion and all that kind of stuff are just zero, you know? He was 3 times from doing 1/4 mile races. He was unidentifiable from an accident 3 different times. One time they didn't find him until 5 days later. He was laying in the field. The fireman was picking up the pieces way out in the field, and he heard moaning, and they found my dad.
The fuck?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Was this before you were born?
Yeah. Those all happened before he met my mom too. So okay. he had a lot of things going on that were starting to go wrong in his head. And I don't think he knew it either yet. Mm-hmm. So, and because when you hear my family describe what he used to be like before he started racing cars and all that, he used to be very docile, but then all of a sudden he started getting more and more hostile. So I don't know. The 2 may be related. It might just be a social problem. You know, he was like 5 feet tall. You know.
I'm picking up what you're laying down.
Yeah, exactly. Little bitch. I'll tell you, when he met me when I was 18, he was like, "Oh, boy." I scared the absolute shit out of him. You little puss.
I'm the captain now. Yeah.
I'm the captain. Give me that. Where's your wallet? Yeah, it's mine now. Yeah. So anyways, so during that time with him there, what happened was like, it just got like increasingly more like concentration camp kind of shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, probably knew that
this is your stepmother?
Yeah, my stepmother. She probably knew that if any of this got out to real people, that there would be a problem. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And so, like, she seems like she's trying to keep her wraps on it. And even one time I have a conversation with her and I'm like, my dad used to abuse my mom. And she's like, that's just a story. She's like, those are lies. She's like, I talked to your dad about that. That's just a lie. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's real, you know? And this is at about grade 5. Okay. And then by grade 6, she can see that things are getting worse. Like, he's putting me in, ball, but he was in ball, you know what I mean? So now what a mistake. I should have played fucking badminton or something, So he expects me to be an all-star player. And if I ever have a strikeout or miss a ball or something, he like straight up beats me right fucking there at the thing in front of parents and students and friends.
Yikes.
It's so unbelievably humiliating, and it's just destroying me inside. And then I go home, and what they've decided to do is that um doesn't want my dad to beat me anymore. So she comes up with this thing. Well, what did they do to punish you when you were at your aunt Kathy's, which is my mom's sister? And I said, well, they would just lock us in our room for a while. And so then their solution is, you've done one household infraction, you're locked in your room for 2 fucking months.
Pardon?
So, yeah. So they start locking me in my room, solitary confinement at 10 years old as punishment. And I pretty much spent 3 years in solitary confinement living at my dad's house with him beating me off and on, forcing me to do chores. So my 10, 11, 12-year-old life was all that. And nobody did anything. Nobody ever said anything. Oh, I just can't take that anymore. So I decided I'm going to fucking run away. So I run away to I'm in Grand Coulee. I walk to Regina. So I start walking, and in the time that I'm walking, I hitchhiked a ride with these 2 drunk guys that were trying to get to the number 1 highway out of the city without getting busted. So then they dropped me on the number 1, which I walked all the way to the weigh scale towards Regina. And then this trucker family, they actually were with their grandkids. I just told them that my motorcycle broke down, my dirt bike, and then I couldn't get back to the city. And they gave me a ride to the city, where they dropped me off at a gas station where there was 2 guys, young guys, talking. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm just looking for a ride over by Cochrane School. And the one guy's like, I could give you a ride over there. So I got a ride over there. So then I go and I knock on the door to hope that I get to my mom's house, and I'm hoping that my mom is there. And it turns out my grandma Bloor, who is my mom's mom, is there looking after my brother and sister, because her and Ken are off in Vegas. And so then the reason I had run away is because my dad, it was grade 7, and my dad had decided to take his holidays early. And he had just been like kicking the shit out of me solid for like a week. And he had decided, I'm moving your room downstairs. But there is no room downstairs. You know what it was? There was a fucking pile of clothes in a we had framed up where a bedroom would be. And he says, you're going to sleep in there from now on. But I have no bed, no bedding, nothing. So for 7 days, when I'm doing my finals for grade 7, or for 5 days while I'm doing my finals for grade 7, I'm sleeping in the basement by the washing machine with like timber around me in a pile of clothes, and having a bunch of clothes that I stuffed into a pillowcase to use for a pillowcase. And I'm supposed to be graduating grade 7 and taking my finals during all this happening to me. And I just, at the end of it, I just was like, I had too much. And so that's when I ran away. And then I ran away to just find my grandma there to solve my mom's fucking problems. So I eventually...
Were you actually... Was it better that your grandma was there and not your mom?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. Fuck yeah, man. Yeah, don't let me kid you about that. I love my grandma Bloor. My grandma Bloor is still alive, brah. That's right, baby. Yeah. So she was there, and she took me in for sure. And she called some people, and she made it pretty much clear to my aunt. So she called my dad's sister, my Aunt Val, And she made it clear that, I don't think he's going back. You know what I mean? And so then everybody's trying to figure out what to do with Bradley again. You know what I mean? Like, I'm garbage. I'm some kinds of trash that nobody feels ownership to, that I'm not a human being that needs a concrete house, life lessons, important, kind words to develop into something wonderful. I haven't had any of that, man, in my life, ever. The only times those words came from, they were from my grandma and grandpa Bluer or my grandma and grandpa Keck. But other than that, there was nobody to provide me with that kind of thing growing up. So that's why, I had an absolute need for attention, and that's why I was so hyperactive, is because I just wanted people to like me, and I just wanted to have friends, man. Oh, fuck.
Today's episode of Bunny Hugs and Mental Health is brought to you by Co-op. I've been a member of my local co-op, Sherwood Co-op, for, about 25 years, I think. My co-op is one of more than 150 local independent cooperative associations in more than 600 communities across Western Canada. Co-op is a different kind of business. It's not just a gas bar or a grocery store, although co-op is those things too. At its core, co-op is a group of people working together to help their neighbors and build their community. Co-op members are owners, and success is shared with everyone. Your co-op doesn't benefit one person or one corporation. Your co-op was built for everyone. Your co-op was built for your community. Learn more about co-op and find a location near you at coop.crs. One thing I've learned through my experience with mental health and addictions is you never know what you need to hear until you hear it. Make sure to rate and review on Apple and to tell as many people as you can about the podcast so others can hear something they need to hear from one of my guests. After all, this is a free mental health service, which is a rare thing, so why not share with as many people as you can?
So then here comes grade 8. So then my dad's sister says, okay, I'll take him. And my dad is like, I'll give you his child tax. Well, guess what? He don't give her that fucking money because he don't care about me. And, it's still the early 90s and everybody's still pretty broke. And my aunt has 2 boys, my cousins, and that's hard for them to survive. So then eventually I get through grade 8 and then I move back in with my mom and Ken. Yeah. For grade 9. Dun, dun, dun. Hey, I'm almost at grade 10. Indian head. Here we come. So then what happens is I go through grade 9 there. But while I'm going to grade 9, I'm like, shit's weird in our house. And like, fucking Ken is always sleeping in the bed with my brother and sister. Always. And I'm not okay with that. And I keep bringing it up to my mom. I'm saying, what's happening here? And the rest of my family is saying, what's happening here, Bradley? And my mom's family expects me to fight her. Do you know what I mean? On behalf of all my siblings. Mm-hmm. Because they're good, wholesome, country fucking people. You know what I mean? And that's what they expect.
So the brother and sister that he's sleeping in the bed with.
So he had another girl and boy with my mom.
Gotcha.
Right? So I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And one morning I get up and I'm getting ready for school and he's fucking in the bed with my sister and his goddamn hand is over her pelvis. This is not right. And I go and tell my mom and she fucking won't listen. And then lo and behold, there's some invented fight is on the rise because Ken knows he's been caught because she brought it up to him. So now fucking I'm downstairs one day, like doing nothing with my cousins and we're just playing some games and my is supposed to be going to bed because it's his first day of kindergarten and it's like 10 o'clock and my mom's been yelling at him to go to bed and he's still downstairs. And I'm like, you gotta go to bed. And he goes upstairs crying to Ken. And then my mom is flipping out that he won't go to bed. And then she comes down and then she's screaming at me about this old VCR I took apart that wouldn't work. And then Ken starts coming down like, yeah, this VCR and blah, blah, blah. We can't have this. You got to get out, in front of my two fucking cousins and shit. It's just this big theatrical performance. But the thing is he's trying to convince everybody. He's gaslighting everybody. He's trying to convince everybody, this is why he's got to go. That's not why. He knows why he's thinking that, because he's been caught being a pervert with my fucking brother and sister. And so again, it believes this invented reality. And so then they fucking call up my grandma and grandpa Keck. And they fucking say, okay, here, now he's coming over there. Now, these two 70-year-old people are going to raise fucking their son, who's a fucking tyrant, who's traded on my Keck family since time immortal, well, since his accidents. And now, but they are like, now we're going to send his son there and you're going to raise him for those tyrannical high school years. And, it's just nuts, and then I'm there and I register at Sheldon and life is peaceful and I'm happy living there because there's no problems with my grandma and grandpa. But then my dad's sisters come along again and they're like, oh, you can't be raising him. Like, I've only got 2 fucking years to go. Leave me alone. And they're like, you can't be raising him. Blah, 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 blah. And they're like, and then Ken and them, they're like, yeah, you should send him to the Orange Home. But this feeds into Ken's jailing Bradley. Do you know what I mean? Because if he goes there, he's not going to be able to go and live the high school life I lived. He's going to have serious restrictions. So that's what they did. And that's eventually how I did end up out at the Orange Home, is that finally I was going to grade 10 at my grandma and grandpa's, and my 2 aunts didn't want me to live there. And so then I got sent out to Indian Head.
And that's where we met.
Questions, friend?
Well, was that was living at the Orange Home, did it end up being a good thing, or was it shit show too?
No, it was way better.
Oh,
way better. Fuck yeah. I love fucking Sonny and Edie. They took care of me, man. They loved me too, like a grandson. I think I appealed to them, and I think they were like, this is a good kid that somebody has gone out of their way to fuck right up. They gave me a little responsibility as I got older. Eventually my curfew got a little later. You know what I mean? And they were pretty good, pretty kind on me. Being out there was good. Like meeting you and your crowd, and then some of the other crowd was really good. You know what I mean? Those are good people that wanted to feel happiness all the time. You know what I mean? It really made me feel good,
Good.
And being able to come out there and play drums with some people that were all into it and into trying out new things and all that really fucking made me feel great,
Yeah, they're good dudes, man. I mean, I don't really see them anymore either, but But I mean, when I look back at that time, it's like, fuck it. All it was just try to make each other laugh and fucking have a good time. And
yeah, man. Yeah. To enjoy it to the max in the time that we were in,
Yeah.
Like none of us were into doing anything too mischievous or anything like that, Yeah.
It
was just great. My real issues before I met Candace was after I got out of high school, um, my mom abandoned me again, and so she said she's divorcing Ken. So like, if you think about it, when you're leaving the Orange home, you have to have a home to go to, right? Because you have to take your stuff home, right? But I didn't have that. So I went to the place that had been my mom and my stepdad's home for the past 10 years. And then I go and there's a letter with a bank card on the bed saying that I'm leaving your stepdad and here's $700. Please go register for university and good luck, you know? And that is really what initiated my just darkest depths into depravity, you know? And immediately I started selling drugs to survive, right? Which meant that I just had an absolute abundance at all times. So you never had to wait for it or want for it, you know? And then part of the thing too was rejection by girls. So then I thought that having this and giving this stuff away to people will make them want me, and then maybe somebody will want me enough to have sex with me, you know? And that really was the wrong plan, you know? But really what happened was I just got continually more addicted. So eventually I was selling ecstasy, and I just got so addicted to ecstasy and just like wanting to have, it was like I wanted to have a girlfriend, but like the ecstasy was fucking up my life, you know? And I just couldn't get away from it. So basically from the time I was 17 till I was about 22, I was just totally going to raves. I was up every day, all night, selling E. And yeah. And then what happened was one of my raver friends, who was my best friend at the time, he was having some trouble because he was dealing to other people. And then his dealer was going to hurt him. So I took care of his debts, and I started like telling him, listen, we're going to stop. We're going to quit. We're not going to do this anymore. So then we kind of like started quitting, and we're drying up. You know what I mean? And it turned out that he kind of had to move back into his house with his mom and dad. But that didn't work out very well because they were really, really, really fucking hard on him. And so then there was this big rave that used to happen down there called Connect that I'm sure you know about. Well, he says he's going to Connect, and I'm like, Steve, please don't go to Connect, man. I'm like, you're not going to have a good time. Just stay in the city. He had a job, and I had a job, and we were trying to turn our lives around. And then, I don't know. So this guy sells them all this acid, sells them 30 hits of acid, you know, and he goes to Connect and he takes it all, you know, and he immediately starts thinking insane things like the devil is following me and all I can see is 666, 666 everywhere and all this crazy shit. And then he comes into the city and he comes to me with a friend of mine, Sarah, and he gives me a great big hug at my house. And he's like, I love you, man. I love you. Don't ever think nothing bad. I love you, man. And he's like, I'm seeing the devil everywhere. And and I'm like, no, Steve. I'm like, it's not real. I'm like, you should come back from Connect. I'm like, don't go back. And he's like, no, I gotta go back. And he's like, I got more acid or whatever. And I was like, fuck. So then he goes back, and then he comes, and then Connect ends, and then he goes home, gets a ride home. This is 2 days after I see him, and he committed suicide.
Fuck.
And that was just like the absolute just drop for me. It just crushed me to no end. And then what I did was I went from being hooked on E to fucking smoking meth overnight because I just couldn't handle it anymore, and I didn't want to think anymore. And my best friend's dad, my other best friend's dad, committed suicide a few months after that. Where we used to jam, so where my drum set and my band was in his basement, and then he committed suicide. It was just fucked, man, and I just got harder and harder addicted to this shit. Finally, I met this girl from Germany, and I was like, I don't want to be this way anymore. So I was able to slowly quit using meth. And then I was able to get back into university. And then I broke up with the German girl. And then I got back together with her again for a bit. And then I broke up with her again. And then I met my current wife. We were drinking just a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like too much. Like it wasn't every day, but it was 3-4 times a week. And you're always in that you're never going to start on any house project or anything you got because you're always hungover. There's going to be something to do. Like we're going to go, I don't know, we're going to go drink here, or we're expecting to go drink here with these people, and then there with those people, like, or at the Four Seasons or Sparky's or whatever. We always had plans, and you're just like constantly smashed and not spending any money on the real things, and everything else is just deteriorating. Like, couldn't keep a car running, you know what I mean, for the life of us, Fuck. What led up to the explosion was that we were pretty broke. So it wasn't like what you think. I wasn't cooking meth. I was making honey oil, but I wasn't making a little bit. I was making a lot of it at one time. And I was making about between a half pound and a pound of oil at one time. So I was using about 4, 5, or 6 entire cases of butane, and the whole house was just fucked.
Cases, not bottles. Cases.
Cases, man. So I had about 4 pounds of really good ganja, and I turned it all into oil, and it was doing well. And then my mom's boyfriend comes home and decides to make supper upstairs, and which, when he turns the stove on, it causes a minor, because the fuse must have been worn out for it must have been an old 40 amp fuse for the oven. Right. And so when it would click on and off, it may have caused a little spark when it would click out. So when he turned it on, it made a spark, and that butane lit up like fucking like Christmas. Wow. And it fucking blew the whole wall off the house, just clean, like from the nails, just whoop, removal. And it was like the air lit on fire is the only way to describe it. The air lit on fire. And then you have shell shock. So then you can't hear anything, and you're just kind of panicking, and you don't know but your body's like survival instinct is kicking in to get the fuck out of there. And then your other instinct is like, oh, you gotta put out the fire and hide the stuff, So I tried to put the fire out with the fire extinguisher. Didn't work. And then I go to run upstairs, and my mom's boyfriend is like, the cats are trapped. So then I try to go rescue mom's cats, where I get hit with a huge hot wave of smoke that just like melted my face. You know what I mean? Mm. And then I went running outside, and my brother-in-law was there with me because I'm a fucking idiot. Oh, I feel bad. anyways, so I have to rip his clothes off because his clothes are like melting. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So then we were like standing there fucking in our underwear in February in the snow outside of a house that doesn't have a wall and is smoking from the back. And I just knew, like, wow, this is fucking the end. You know, it was just the worst feeling of horror you could ever imagine. Whew. And then, so then the only thing I remember is going into the ambulance, and then they gave me something to put me out right away. And yeah, and then I like woke up. Okay, and then what? I don't know about this, but what happened was they took me to the hospital, and then I was swelling really bad, and they wanted to send me to Edmonton, but the planes couldn't take off because it was snowing so badly. So they had to cut all of my arms along the muscles to let the swelling swell, and my arms butterflied open, and so that my tendons wouldn't get stuck. And then finally it opened up on the next day, and they sent me immediately to Edmonton, and they got me in, and then they started doing work on me, doing skin grafts and repairing my hands. So I'm in a coma for like 4 months, or not 4 months, 1 month, 4 weeks. And it was confusing, man. Like, I didn't know where I was or what was happening. And there was like a number of days where I started to get it back. Like, where I started to know who I am. Then I started to know who other people were. But I never knew where I was, and I didn't know what happened. Um, and then finally I recognized Candace one day, because Candace was there with me.
It's your wife?
That's my wife, man.
I have a segment on the podcast called That's Somebody Special, a segment where we chat about who cooperated in your mental health journey and helped fill your emotional tank, brought to you by Co-op.
Oh my God. You need to know about Candace. She's the queen of hearts, man. So
she gets your shout out for the person that's been there for you.
Yes. My mom didn't even come down to see me. So then I finally recognized her, and then so then after about a week of me coming back to reality, then they had to see if they could get me to walk again, right? Because I haven't moved in over a month. And also they have cut my muscles open, and they have skin grafted like my legs. And they skin grafted my calves and shit.
Oh yeah.
So, because it had nice skin. Very nice. Did you like it? So then they skin grafted all my skin, and they got all that done, and then they got me to start walking. And then in that time where I'm doing my first walks, I see myself for the first time. And it was just absolutely fucking destructive. It just blew up my whole soul and mind just into a million little pieces, because you what you looked like and how you recognized yourself is totally different now. Yeah. So then the years that followed were just horrifying. Like, I just went through the absolute worst stages of the descent of insanity, like where we had to move back in with my mom, and my mom was just making me feel terrible about what happened. And
she's no longer with Ken?
No, because she has this new guy, because Ken left her for some Filipino that he had back in the Philippines for the past 10 years. And like everybody was telling her that, and she wouldn't listen. She's special. Anyways, we decide we're going to move to Yorkton. So we move out to Yorkton for a year. and then Candace, we decided to have a baby and get married, all in the wake of the trauma. Probably the worst time to do all this, but we do it. Fuck. So we got married first, and we got pregnant because you can't do that wrong, not in Saskatchewan. So, no. So then Petra is born, but we decide that we wanted to live like in Saskatoon. You know what I mean? So we moved to Saskatoon, and she got a job, and just gradually we've been rebuilding life since then into something, and we're actually rebuilding life into something definitely more akin to a real life because of Petra. You know what I mean? We're not like having this whatever kind of, lackadaisical life. Everything is well structured now, and I'm not rolling around with pounds of weed or nothing like that. We've definitely tamed it down some, for sure. I absolutely adore Petra, and I know what my parents didn't give to me. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't think it's that she needs more Nintendos or fucking trips to Disneyland. I know what the reality is. She needs hugs. She needs advice. She needs parents that are present. Right. You know what I mean? And that also is not strobed out, because your parents can be present, but they can be strobed right the fuck out. And then you're robbing them of you, and I don't want to do that. I want her life to just be enjoyable. And I want her to be at 18 to be able to take flight and not have clipped wings right from the beginning, because it really, it makes it so hard to, what my personality is like. Do you know what it's like for me working a regular job with people that don't know me?
I know exactly how that feels, actually.
Yeah. They're like, what the fuck is this guy?
That's why I have a different job every 2 years or a year and a half.
Oh, man. They're just like, fuck, I like me. Like, what's your problem?
I'm showing you my best me.
Yeah, I love being me every day like this. It's just unreal.
Did your wife come from a somewhat more stable family than, say, you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course.
Oh, okay.
I made that correction right away. So I did have a few girlfriends, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
You're like, I want to be the unstable one in the relationship.
That's right. There's not enough room for your complaints. If anybody's gonna do the whining in this house, it's gonna be me. Yeah, no, it's just like if it has to be the kind of mindset you are, because you'll see that those kinds of people actually are together. You know what I mean? But if either one of them has a mindset to be something else one day, it ain't gonna work. Yeah, but she's from a nice family. They ended up divorcing and stuff, but they're generally good people. Not like my parents, they're pretty wholesome people.
So I'm still, I understand that when people talk about trauma and shit, it can still be very, triggering, but are you healthy? Are you healthy?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm generally healthy. The thing that my trick so far has been is just to make plenty of distance between me and them from now on. It's like my brother and sister are like alcoholics, but they're alcoholics for emotions, positive emotions. So why think about yesterday's negative emotions? Always only think about the positive emotions you can create for yourself tomorrow.
Are you an alcoholic of the past and the negative
Exactly.
emotion?
What's that?
Are you the alcoholic of the past and negative emotions though?
Yeah, I am the opposite. That's right. I am a fiend on everything that has created me, and that is the worst that you can. Okay, that is a way that.
Wait, so are you healthy then?
Well, yeah, somewhat. So what happens is you've been taught to long past when you've been abused, you've been taught to abuse yourself, especially the stuff that happened in childhood. So then what you'll do is you'll just continue to find people that are the same kind of people as the people that raised you in one degree or another, and you'll fall victim to the same kinds of patterns. Because if you don't learn, I have to have self-respect. It's like once you learn this other a set of rules for living, you're able to throw some of those things away. But until then, it's just like you're like, I want my mom to love me. I want my brother, my sister to love me. I wish that I had that family that I never got to experience. The likelihood of what's going to happen is that you're just going to go further insane. They're not going to see the thing that you think they're going to see. You know what I mean? They're going to just continue to be the way they were trained to be,
Okay. So let me try to paraphrase it. Because not too long ago, you were just saying you love you and you like you and you think you're a good person and stuff. So it's not like you have self-confidence issues. It's more like rejection, sensitivity issues. So you feel like you always have to be accepted, or you're always looking for approval. Yeah. But not from yourself. You've learned to love yourself, but you still have issues with what other people think of you.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to just cut those people out of your life because, well, like you kind of said it like an addiction. It's like you are addicted to trying to get their approval, and you finally realized, fuck it, I'm never going to get it. They're the ones that are fucked. And you've just accepted that, and now you're just moving on.
I'm not smoking the same stuff as them no more.
Okay. So, I mean, it's, I don't know if that means you're healthy or not,
organic.
But yeah.
I just overpay now.
But the thing I worry about now is like in new relationships and things, are you still going to be looking for that approval from people, or you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yes, absolutely.
That's the thing you have to work on then.
So since I started this job, right away, I noticed like I seek the approval of people. I need them to like me. And the reason I need them to like me is because it's not because other people never like me. I'm sure there are. But the real true reason is because my own parents and family never liked me and accepted me. Mm-hmm. Even when I run into people on the street today, everybody's like, Brad, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And even when I was at school in Indian Head, I definitely didn't feel that anybody liked me. I always felt that people secretly hate me, even if people were good to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we did. We would have town meetings.
Fuck the fat guy. Fuck the fat guy. You guys would all just sit around there and eat the best stuff too, right? Like lasagna and cake and shit. And you're like, fat fuck can't eat none of this. So, but when I was in Indian Head, like one of the things I did feel one of the very first times of my life, I felt companionship.
I felt like you were likable right away. I mean, it was like, this guy's fucking nuts. This is awesome. Woo! Let's have fun.
But it was just like I had never experienced warm people before. My world had always just been so cold to me. And fuck, and people were really into band. Like, what the fuck?
not like that anymore here.
I went from being a knob in the city to be like, no, man, band's cool out here, dude. I was like, right on. This is
All
my
the cool
world.
kids. All the cool kids are in band.
Oh, yeah, for sure, bro. Hey, man, do you even play clarinet? No?
Hey, Brad, thank you so much for doing this. It was awesome catching up with you, and it was just really nice to have some laughs with you and to hear your story and to appreciate exactly who you were in high school and not just the guy that we like to have fun with. So yeah, I'm also really sorry that you had to go through all that stuff. So again, thank you. This week I'm going to be releasing a bonus episode in the middle of the week with Ashley. She lost her brother to a drug overdose, and she's going to tell her story and kind of explain what happened to him and about her new group and her new foundation that she started to help people on the streets. So that's amazing. So stay tuned for all that. I've got some really cool guests lined up again, so I'm just really excited. And I just want to say thank you so much to my friends Aaron and Taylor. They joined the Bunny Hugs mental health team-ish. They're just some really great, energetic, smart young people that are going to be helping me on the podcast here. So that's amazing. I need all the help I can get because I don't know exactly what I'm doing all the time. And I got to tell you, there's a lot to do. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, expect to do a lot of work. Anyway, remember to follow me on Instagram, Bunny Hugs Podcast. Also, don't forget to please make your beds and take your meds. Bye.